Thank you for joining us for this special coverage of the funeral of Fargo police officer Jason Moszer. I'm Lisa Bedeau here with Mike Morkin.
Yeah, impressions?
Incredibly emotional.
Yeah.
I teared up and cried through many parts of that service. So many touching moments, from the friend talking about being his best friend and a hero long before this ultimate sacrifice, to the fellow officer who, gave him a hug and said goodbye for the last time and didn't realize it 24 hours before he said then he was holding his hand saying goodbye.
And I thought at the tail end, very, very powerful when they took the flag off the casket, folded it, presented it to Jason's wife and parents. And then how could you not, knowing what was going to take place, but as they read off all of the call signals for each of the officers within the Fargo Police Department, knowing they were going to get to Edward 143 and knowing what we weren't going to hear, very, very powerful, very emotional.
Yeah, you could feel the emotion. You could see all of the law enforcement there, especially during the status checks. You could see, very strong men and women wiping away tears at that point. I thought everything was just beautifully done, from the music to the eulogies to the message from the pastor Kloster, the pastor who actually married Officer Moszer and his wife Rachel, and then to be there today. Of course, he wanted to be there, but you could see he was emotional. Yeah. He cried and he didn't want to.
Our coverage continues. Let's go out to Valley News Live's Bradford Eric. Bradford, you were in and listened to some of the funeral processions. Give us your impressions and what you remember about what just took place over the last hour, 2 hours actually. Bradford?
Mike and Lisa, you guys hit it right on the head. It was extremely emotional and extremely beautiful. When you walked in the place and it started with the bagpipes, I mean, you could literally feel the weight of the sadness through the crowd. The entire floor of Shields Arena was packed. That's normally where the ice surface is, for example. That's normally where the ice is for Fargo Force games. The scoreboards, the electronic boards around the top of the arena read 1982 to 2016 Officer Jason Moszer. Again, that's normally where the scoreboards are. The big screens for replays in the arena instead replayed slideshows of happy moments from Officer Moser's life. As I said, you could just feel the sadness and the heartache among everyone present in the arena today. I would describe it as reverent, quiet, and very, very respectful. I mean, I'm not going to lie. At the end, when they were reading off the call signs there, and we all knew what was coming, to be standing next to a sheriff's deputy and both of you choking back tears, that's a powerful thing. And the Reverend Kloster, calling what happened to Officer Moszer a senseless act of violence, and that shot changed lives. And that, something he also said today stuck with me, that there are few things are going to come easy today, but one of those things will be tears. And it was hard to find a dry eye inside Shields Arena this afternoon. Mike, Lisa?
Bradford, tell us about the lack of sound. There were moments there when you could hear the heels of the officers walking down as they were making their way in or out, or the sounds of just bagpipes as they played Amazing Grace. How was that? How did that all play into today's funeral?
I think we've all heard the song Amazing Grace, whether it's played on a piano or guitar or what have you. But to hear it played on bagpipes in front of you, in front of thousands of law enforcement and military personnel, everyone there to honor Officer Moszer, just incredibly powerful, and just about everyone in attendance was trying to make sure a tear didn't fall down their face. I saw people in the crowd literally doubled over with tears and sadness and grief. I can't tell you enough. And as you said, the silence at times of today's ceremony was almost as powerful as the sound. It's almost like you could hear a pin drop at times. People might have been fidgeting a few rows away from you, but it was so quiet that it almost didn't matter.
All right, thank you. Bradford Eric reporting outside Shields Arena. He'll continue to stay with us. Our coverage continues. We have more people that are out.
Right, of course, we know that a 21-mile procession is going to start with all of the law enforcement. At least a couple hundred squad cars or first responder vehicles we know will be in this procession. And we want to go now to Valley News Team's Ashley Bishop, who joins us now live near Cheney Middle School, which is, we know, one of the first significant points that this procession will be passing. Ashley, can you tell us, once again, start with why they're going to Cheney first and where it goes from there?
Yes, Lisa and Mike, they're starting by going to Cheney Middle School here. This is where one of Officer Mosher's children actually attends school. They were hoping to attend both the elementary and the middle school here, but due to some the school letting out and stuff like that, there would be no students there by the time the procession would pass. So they decided to just come to Cheney Middle School so the students and classmates of Officer Mosher's son and daughter can support them through this time. We talked with West Fargo schools earlier today, and they said if everything works out and it comes before the time they let out, they hope to have students line the road. Right now, the road is starting to get very packed with people. Numerous people, especially those with small children, are coming and lining the road. I talked to two parents just moments ago about why they felt it was important to bring their 5-year-old and their 8-year-olds out here for this historic event that's happening in Fargo. They say the morning of the news that broke that Officer Mosher was shot and fatally wounded, their children took that to heart. One going and praying in her bedroom, the other dressing up, a 5-year-old dressing up as a police officer, coming out saying, "I want to fight the bad guys, Mommy." And he's here today dressed along the route, and they're waiting for the procession to start. Everyone, students, people, all kinds of people are starting to come and fill along the route, waiting for this large procession to be joining.
Ashley,
Lisa?
can you give us an understanding? We can see some people over your shoulder, but how about to the south of you along Veterans there? Quite a few people there?
Yeah, there's quite a few people along here. People brought their dogs, many people with children, many people holding signs. One sign I'm looking at right now off to mine is "Thank you, Officer Mosher, and may you rest in peace. Thanks for your service." And a little boy is holding it. He's about 5 years old. I talked with his mother. They think it is very important for their children to see this, and tons of more people are actually coming down the road as we speak.
And I know that you're right next to Cheney, and you mentioned that the elementary schools, West Fargo elementary schools, get out about 2:40, so
Yeah.
they're already cleared. The middle school's a little bit later, and I know several daycares in that area that plan on going out as well. Will you be going to other locations along this route as well?
Yes, we hope to, as soon as the procession passes, get to another location, hopefully Fargo Police Department, as soon as everything passes here, and get to the next location and be able to broadcast that for you as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Ashley. We'll get back to you. Some of those other locations that we talked about over this 21-mile route, not only do we include Cheney Middle School, but they're going to make their way up over to County Road 20, over into Moorhead, and then pass along by the Moorhead Armory. Well, he was a member of the Minnesota National Guard. There you can see the route right there. Then they're going to make their way back into the North Dakota side, and as she indicated, we're going to not only go by the Fargo PD, where Officer Mosher was a member of the department for 6 years, but also past Sanford, and wanting to basically acknowledge the wonderful care that Officer Mosher received after being mortally wounded.
Our team coverage continues with Nicole Johnson also being out along the route, and we want to check in with her to see what is happening at your location. Nicole?
Mike, Lisa, inside the funeral, it was quiet and emotional, and you're seeing a little bit of that out here as well. Parents, kids, families, many of them touched by Officer Jason Mosher's death. They're out here showing their support. In fact, you can see Trinity Elementary School kids lining the street. And as you can see, they're all paying attention. You can also see construction workers who looks like they brought some of their equipment over here, hanging the flags, and they're all standing at attention, waiting to see what's going to happen. There's a lot of support out here, people with signs, balloons. It's a touching sight how many people came out here, almost like a parade, waiting to see what's going to happen. Kind of like we heard Chief David Todd say in the funeral? If Jason could say it, he'd say thanks for the backup. Mike?
Those
Lisa?
words exactly ring true. And I would imagine a lot of people were probably inside their home if they weren't at Shields Arena watching the funeral. So we're starting to see people start to come out and line the streets. It feels like just a little bit of what you can do, to watch the procession and say thank you. And people were obviously planning on this. You can tell by the flags that are out there, the signs that are out there. And we've talked a lot about this. And I know Nicole actually talked to some wives of police officers, some mothers. This is a story that's really touched a lot of children, families, and we forget that the children also heard these reports. So as she mentions, the Trinity Elementary School students the school is very close to where Nicole is right now. They're also coming out and paying their tribute as well.
Nicole, if you would, tell us a little bit about what the two wives of the police officers that you spoke with late last week, what did they share with you as far as what the department's going through and what the police department families are going through?
Mike, I don't know if I can begin to explain what they're going through. It's a tough situation for them. A lot of them saying, what if this was our family? What if this was me? How would I talk to my kids about this? I know one of them has already been having those conversations with the family, and the other one beginning to have that conversation and explaining to their kids, this is an honorable job. We teach our kids to honor what dad does, saying we want to make sure their dad is ready when he goes to work, that he eats before work, that he sleeps before work. And it's a job that's difficult, and you have to be ready for what's going to happen. And it's a time where these two moms that I spoke to are saying, what if it was our family? How do we talk to our kids about this? And some of the kids not quite understanding yet what that means, and trying to teach their kids that this is forever. It's something that it's forever.
All right, thank you so much. Nicole Johnson reporting south of Interstate 94, just on Veterans Boulevard there. And someone called in before our coverage even went on, and they wanted to know what EOW stood for. And we have since learned that stands for End of Watch. So that's what that stands for.
I believe we're hearing now that school has let out at Cheney Middle School, which is one of the first places that the procession will be following or going past. And so as we're still waiting for the procession to get to that location, we'd like to check in one more time with Valley News Team's Ashley Bishop to kind of set the scene for us. Definitely a lot more people out there right now since the last time we talked to you.
Yes, Lisa and Mike, as you can see right behind me, you can see the school of middle schoolers lining the road here on 9th Street East in West Fargo. Tons of people in this area too. We even have people coming out on their back porches from their homes and waving flags and things like of that nature. Many watching that way, not coming directly out the street. But as we look up and down 9th Street, you can see people as far as down to 13th lining the road. You can also see all the middle schoolers behind us coming in line in the road, which is a big significant spot that the family wanted to make sure they passed this location as Officer Moser's children attend the school here. One of his children attend this school and one attend an elementary school. Now the elementary school has already let out, but obviously Cheney has not let out yet. They're not letting out till 3:45, and they said if they could make it work with the weather, which has stopped snowing, and make it work with the time the procession comes, they want to be out there to support a classmate, someone who's going through a difficult time, and as just like the rest of the community is. And as you can see, tons of students starting to line it with flags, posters of support, and it's just a sight to see. Lisa, Mike?
The timing seems to be working out just as planned to have the students go out there and support, one of their own, and also Fargo police officer, but of course really rallying around one of their own, which I know is why the family probably chose to go by Cheney. And the children, the whole family will need our support, and of course that's what it's all about in a community like West Fargo.
Yeah.
Once again, Ashley is just a little bit a ways from just north on Veterans Boulevard from Shields Arena. And I believe it sounds like we want to go back to Shields Arena where Bradford Eric is standing by. And it looks like the procession may be getting close to starting. Let's check in right now, Bradford. We can see a lot of activity behind you. It looks like many officers are going out. We can see the lights already on many of the squad cars. Any update on what's going on out there right now?
Well, right now, the public, civilians, I'll call them, who attended today's ceremony are trying to get out of the parking lot and get out of the way of the procession, because once you're behind that procession, you're going to have to wait until everyone involved in the procession is out of this area. And remember, if your car is in the way of that procession, there are 2 tow trucks here, and they are not afraid to use them. As you said, officers and law enforcement are continuing to stream out of the arena here behind me back to their respective squad cars and vehicles to get that procession underway. A lot of people have come up to me and said, you know, what a great ceremony, what a beautiful ceremony, and you know, I'm looking at a bunch of charter buses and city buses here in front of me. You know, a West Fargo police officer walked by me a few minutes ago, and you know, we both looked at each other and understood what had happened and what we went through this afternoon. And so, you know, the sun might be shining and there might be blue sky, but there's still a lot of grief, a lot of pain, a lot of sadness on these officers. And you know, you'll probably see a little bit of that as the procession gets underway here. Again, officers, law enforcement continuing to come out of the arena, and the procession is just about to get underway here at Shields Arena.
Bradford, I happened to be up in North Fargo this morning as the hundreds of police officers and law enforcement vehicles were gathered in what we normally have come accustomed to as the tailgating section for NDSU football. What an equally impressive moment I saw as I drove by there. What's it like for you as you see, like I say, I think that was described on our noon show today, all the red and blue cherries on top of the vehicles. What's it like for you as you see them all getting lined up and lit up?
Well, I've got to tell you, I've never seen so much law enforcement in one area, and I've never seen so much support from so many different agencies. You know, literally half of this section from Veterans Boulevard to 45th Street is blocked off because it is a parking lot for law enforcement vehicles. Literally half of this block of 32nd Avenue is just law enforcement vehicles. That's how many military people and police officers and sheriff's deputies have come out here today. You know, we think of Shields Arena as a happy place, so to speak, where, you know, basketball games are played and hockey matches are, you know, the puck is dropped there. But it was in such stark contrast to what normally happens at Shields Arena that it was almost unbelievable to see what was going on there today. And I think literally every squad car that Fargo Police Department has is here today, you know, ready to go on this, you know, 20-plus mile journey around the area.
And as that gets underway, keep us posted. We'll come back to you. We talk about the contrast of events. I've been around the market now. This is probably the biggest, it is without a doubt the biggest funeral that I've been a part of. You know, we can talk about Mayor Wallaker's funeral not that long ago. I think the crowd was somewhere around 1,700. I can go back to 1992 when Senator Quentin Burdick's funeral was held at the Holiday Inn, and the event that took place, and at that time was deemed to be very incredible, and it was, with all of the senators, U.S. senators that came in. But this, with its size and as we've seen, the emotion associated with it, yeah, I would say a big one for its event.
You know, it's interesting too, listening to Bradford talk, you know, putting the perspective into, I know when we first, you know, knew and found out that there was going to be a funeral plan, where would they have a funeral of this size? And then seeing, you know, we're used to seeing Shields Arena. There was a Bison basketball game there on Saturday. It's a Fargo Force game, and I know from going through pictures on the Hanson-Runsfold Memorial site of Officer Moszer that he was at Fargo Force games in that same arena not so long ago. You know, clearly he loved hockey. Clearly he loved riding motorcycles. So, you know, and clearly people loved him. I'd also like to just add to, you know, there were so many people that didn't know Officer Moszer, and I think that we feel the same. I didn't know him personally, but I feel like the whole community has rallied around him, the family. We feel like we lost a friend. Yeah,
very much so.
You know, as well.
All right. Let's go back out to Nicole Johnson. I believe she's out along south of Veterans Boulevard. Nicole?
Yeah, Mike, there's still a couple cars rolling by, but we haven't seen the procession start. More people have come out while we've been waiting. We're seeing a lot of families, a lot of kids, a lot of support out here. And I want to go back to those wives I spoke to earlier in the week. They wanted to point out something. You know, a lot of times it's easy to get caught up in the lights and the cars and how awesome it is to see that support. And for some kids, it may look kind of like a parade and they think it's really cool. But the wives that I spoke to wanted to point out that it's a sad day. And it's good to see all this support, and it's good to see the officers coming from all around the country. But you need to remember that it is a sad day, and it's a tragedy that happened. And seeing that, you know, it's touched a lot of people, and it's heartbreaking.
How are the numbers there as we continue to see all the people that are gathering? Do you see more people that are coming to the berm of Veterans Boulevard?
Yeah, it looks like some of the kids had to leave, possibly go home, but we're seeing a lot more people. You know, the parking lots over here, some of the local businesses are filling up, and we're even seeing owners of businesses. I spoke to a couple of the people here at the new salon. They brought all their employees out here, and there's people you can see piling out of the restaurants, knowing that something is going to go on, and they want to come see what's happening.
It's in south of Interstate 94 and along Veterans Boulevard. We'll be coming back to you as the procession continues.
And as we were watching the funeral, we obviously did hear from Fargo Police Chief David Todd. He was one of the first speakers to talked about how Officer Moszer was a cop's cop, a quiet hero. And I know Nicole mentioned this earlier. You know, he ended with, if, you know, Jason could say it, he'd definitely say thanks for the backup, you know, kind words. And we know because Chief Todd was one of the first ones we heard from, and he was very emotional when we found out that we were losing Officer Moszer. Now, before the funeral, Chief Todd did come out and visit with reporters who were stationed outside of Shields Arena. We're actually going to hear from him from during the funeral, so let's listen in right now.
Despite the fact that sometimes it's dangerous, scary, or difficult, you wouldn't choose to be anywhere else. That's who Jason Moszer was. Jason was a cop's cop. Jason was our brother, a fellow officer who sometimes went through intense moments during his career with his brothers and sisters in blue. Sometimes he was coming to their call for backup, and sometimes they were responding to his call for backup. Those intense experiences bond you for life to your fellow officers.
And I thought one of the hardest parts to watch as well when they were doing the military and police rights and they were handing the flag, the American flag, to both Officer Moser's wife, Rachel, and his mother. And you could see Chief Todd visibly shaken. I know when he was turning, I thought, this is affecting him.
We
incredibly.
don't see our police that we work with regularly in that setting. They are out doing their job, and they're trying to take care of crime on the streets, but to see them in that formal, emotional, tense setting, that was difficult. All right, let's go out to Ashley Bishop. She is near Cheney Middle School, and she's been there as the crowd has been gathering. They let school out. Ashley, what do you have for us?
Mike and Lisa, I'm here along 9th Street East in West Fargo near Cheney Middle School. Students are lined around along the road, and numerous adults and also small children, but a lot of adults are out here too. And joining me right now are two people, Lena and I'm sorry, Bill. Lena and Bill, and they're not even from this area of the state. They're from Williston, North Dakota, and they came out to support the officers here. Why did you guys do that?
We just thought it was a good place to be right now to support the community and the families out here.
So you guys were out watching the funeral when you were like, I just have to come here, or what?
We were at the hotel room, and we just decided we were going to be here to support the community.
And you guys, Bill, you said it, even though it's not your community, you need to be here. Why?
Right. It's just, it's the right thing to do. It's what we should do as people in any community, is be a part of things that's going on in other communities and support them for that.
And have you guys, I know Williston has sent some of their officers out here, but have you ever seen a procession like this in your lives?
I have never seen, no.
No, me either. No.
Do you know what to expect?
Not really. Not really.
No.
Well, we're lined around the route here, Mike and Lisa, waiting for the procession. More people are joining us, and a lot more coming out. Some people bringing their dogs, their children. A lot of signs of support we see, and a lot of American flags as well.
Ashley Bishop reporting live from the Procession route near Cheney Middle School in West Fargo. We'll check in with you again soon.
As we wait for the procession to get underway, we're going to show you some of that. We want to at least look back at some of the things that were said during today's funeral, a funeral that lasted about 2 hours. And one of them, some of the comments came from a good close friend of Jason. His name was Drew Schwan, and he was the individual who was able to share that friendship, that sort of feeling, and certainly also did it with a very difficult task at hand. But he got through it, and we want to at least share with you some of his comments.
I wasn't surprised at all to hear that Jason just smiled and shrugged his shoulders after receiving the Silver Star for entering a smoke-filled home to help to save the lives of 2 children in 2011. Jason would never think twice about doing something like that. He would have had the same mentality on the evening of February 10th, once again called to help residents of Fargo that needed protection. I truly believe that Jason was in his element that night, but ultimately, this would be his last shift to protect and serve the citizens of Fargo.
Speaking at a funeral is never a difficult one. Speaking in front of that big of a crowd, very tough, and obviously very close friend to Jason Moszer. Drew Schwan did a very admirable job in not only letting us know a little bit about who Jason was, but understandably the type of individual he was and the caring individual that he was as well.
And I think that's why we're seeing so many people starting to go out along the procession route, because they feel like Jason Moszer was their friend too. And we want to head back to near Shields Arena, I guess, on Veterans Boulevard, where Nicole Johnson is once again standing by as we're getting close, hopefully, to the procession starting.
I want to tell you about one of the most powerful signs I'm seeing out here. It's just a basic white sign with a blue thank you on it. That's all it says. And the reason I think it's so powerful, last week I was talking to a Fargo police officer who was saying the support is great and the community is great, but sometimes all the support is overwhelming and they don't know how to take it. And they said, community members, the biggest thing you can do for them is a simple thank you. You know, they're doing their job and they're continuing to do their job while they mourn. And the thing they want you to do is just say thank you.
A simple thing that really means a lot, and that's really been the message that we've been hearing from police officers here and the officers that I know Nicole even talked to, someone from Indiana, I believe, earlier. You know, officers and law enforcement officers, detectives from all over the country have come here to support one of their own. I mean, it's really been incredible.
And I think the unfortunate truth is that we have to get to a situation where we're mourning the loss of an individual before we may sometimes realize how valuable that individual was, is, and along with his or her colleagues. They do a great deal of service to our area, and as Nicole alluded to, saying thank you, that's important.
Maybe, Nicole, you could also tell us, you talked to quite a few of the law enforcement officers that have traveled from all over the country to come. Could you tell us a little bit more about what they said? Some of them actually drove the very, very long distance. You know, why did they feel like they had to come, that they wanted to come?
You know, one of the officers I spoke with, a detective who drove here from Indiana, I think it was around 800 miles he drove. The biggest reason, he says, is so they don't feel alone. And he said that's the biggest feeling that they don't want anyone to feel today, and that you're not going to feel today, is alone. And I know some of the officers I spoke to said sometimes when they're out there doing their job and they're the first to respond to something and they know it's a dangerous situation, you can feel alone, and it's scary and it's dangerous. And for other newer officers to come and see this backup and see this support and see people from all over the country coming out, it makes them know that they're not alone doing the job that they're doing.
All right, Nicole Johnson reporting live for us along Veterans Boulevard, just south of I-94. Thank you so much, Nicole. We are awaiting the beginning of the procession. Hundreds of law enforcement vehicles that will be taking themselves on a 21-mile journey that is going to stop off, at least pass by some poignant places along the way, places that mean something to Jason Moszer and or his family. And we're awaiting that, and we're going to continue to wait for that, and we'll bring you coverage from that.
of starting from Shields Arena. It will be going to Cheney Middle School, where one of Officer Mosher's children attends, going north from there and making a swing to the Moorhead Armory. The map is up right now if you want to, take a look, so you can kind of plan ahead and maybe go out and show your respects. Of course, stopping, like I said, or driving by the Moorhead Armory, as Officer Mosher was a member of the Minnesota National Guard and did actually serve deployments in both Bosnia and also in Iraq. Is that correct?
That's
also
correct.
Bosnia
Yep.
and Iraq. And then, of course, making it, the procession will make its way to the downtown Sanford Health, where the family has said, they received incredible care when he was taken there, and then also going by the Fargo Police Department before ending back at the funeral home.
And take a good look at this map, because this isn't going to be a 15-minute swing through. As we reported, this is a route that they practiced, and I think it was well over an hour without the numerous vehicles there. So what you're going to see is that route will be congested, or I would stay away from that route over the next at least 2 hours. I would imagine it's going to at least take that before they begin at Shields and end up over at Hanson-Runsvold, where they are planning a private funeral for the family members.
And they are just asking people to be patient. I know at one point they'll be on the interstate. It won't close the interstate, but they're asking people not to jump into the procession. They only want the law enforcement, first responder, family vehicles within that procession, which seems obvious, but I know how people can be impatient when they're out on the road. So just remember that if you're going out, if you're just happening to be in the area of this huge procession. We're talking a couple hundred vehicles potentially.
Somebody said, I think it was 1,000 officers that had come to this. Now, obviously, they don't all have vehicles, but what we're going to see is a large number in this procession that'll be moving along. And for those of you that are on that path or near that path, you have every opportunity to do just what we've been seeing with a lot of folks that have already gathered along 32nd Avenue, as also along Veterans Avenue, and then on into West Fargo on 9th Street. They're gathering there to watch, to wave, to salute, to just be there as that procession passes by. Let's go out now to Bradford Eric, who is outside of Shields. And I guess the big question is how close, Bradford, do you think they are from leaving that particular venue?
Mike, I've got to think that they're getting pretty close. Most of the arena is empty now. Most of the law enforcement are back in their respective squad cars and SUVs and pickups. All the lights, as you can see here behind me, the Fargo police vehicles are on. They are flashing. They just moved a little. Got to think they've got to be starting soon. It just kind of seems like right now they're just trying to get the public and people not involved in the procession to get out of here, get out of the way so they can get this underway. The charter buses that were in front of me, they're gone. A lot of other people and agencies associated with the public have left already. So I've got to think that we're just a few minutes away from this procession kicking off, led obviously by the Fargo Police Department.
Bradford Eric reporting outside Shields. Keep us posted when that continues.
Of course, all of the emotion was inside Shields Arena for that nearly 2-hour funeral. And some of the most, everything, all of this, whether it was Chief David Todd, very emotional, but there were 2 friends who gave eulogies, and we heard from his longtime childhood best friend who is now living next door to him in Sabin. That was Drew. And Jacob Rude is a fellow officer who worked the night shift. He said they were, beat partners. And he also had a very emotional eulogy talking about his last shift that he worked.
The last 24 hours.
The last
and
24
how 24 hours changed. Let's listen to that.
Well, this is going to be really hard. I'd like to tell you about my last day with Jason. This is it. The first thing I said to him on Tuesday. Tuesday was Jason and I's last day working together. We had both known it for some time. In a matter of days, he would be going to the day shift. I was happy for him. He had just told me how he's excited to be able to spend more time with his family. He'd also said he was nervous because he'd never had a day job before. I was also sad and had told him that because I was losing my mentor. I had worked almost every shift with Jason since graduating PTO. We were district partners and now beat partners. That's another District 4 action complete. I always knew no matter how foobar a call was, I could look to him for advice. He'd been there and done that.
All right, there it is, the procession beginning. This is a shot coming down Veterans Boulevard. You can hear the sirens. The traffic has been stopped behind it. And let's just watch and take a listen. All right, the hearse and the procession beginning, and you can see the long column of vehicles. Nicole Johnson, if you're out there, can you hear us? Tell us what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what you're seeing and hearing.
Mike, right before the procession came, you could see balloons being released, blue balloons, about a dozen of them just down the street there. You can see a lot of emotion here, people taking pictures, not a whole lot of talking. You can tell when the officers are driving by, they're taking a look out in the crowd and looking at people, not really waving, but just taking a look, taking it all in. You know, this procession is long, there's a lot of lights, a lot of people trying to see what's going on. Can hear a helicopter going above our heads here.
We can also see that people have just simply pulled over, getting out of their cars, watching. It makes sense. You're not seeing a lot of people talking. Just kind of, it's a very solemn day. And especially now after the lead cars are well ahead of where you are right now. We're not hearing the sirens. But of course, for as far as you can see, it's just the flashing red and blue lights.
All right, let's move across the interstate now where Ashley Bishop and her camera are positioned. If we can go to that, you can just start to see the procession making its way over Interstate 94. And if we can steady up there, we'll get a shot of the students that are aligned there. As we had indicated earlier, one of Jason Moser's children attends Cheney Middle School. So the school decided to let out at about 3:45, and as timing has worked out, the student body will be allowed to see the procession, and the body of Jason Moszer will be passing along Cheney Middle School.
Ashley Bishop, are you able to hear us right now to kind of set the scene for us as well? We can see officers there blocking off the intersection as the procession comes through. Yeah. How are people reacting?
Mike and Lisa, we are able to hear you. It's kind of gone silent over here. A school full of children were making lots of noise just moments before, but as soon as the sirens started, silence has come over everybody, and most people standing in awe, many with their phones out, of course trying to capture this part of history that is coming over and having to hit Fargo. Many people tell me this is something they're eager to see but never want to see again. Numerous people I just spoke with says it's something that they hope is the last time they're seeing. As the hearse just passed me here, family members right now passing behind us, and the procession has now past us and is starting to continue along. Mike, Lisa.
All right, thank you so much, Ashley Bishop. And in the background, you can see the student body from Cheney Middle School as they are watching in silence, paying their respects to the procession as it makes its way.
Oh, that's what really touches me, is seeing the children, seeing Officer Moser's children at the funeral, then seeing the middle school students standing out there. And, great words from one of the people on the route that told Ashley something they wanted to see but never want to see again. I feel like everyone just feels like they want to pay their respects. We all feel like we lost someone that we loved, because we lost someone who loved our city. It was brought up several times throughout the funeral that, he was doing what he loved. He loved to be a cop. He gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect his community, and listening to, his friends that, gave the eulogies, Officer Moszer would not have wanted all of this attention. He would have understood it, but this isn't the kind of person. He didn't want any attention on himself. However, when you're a good guy like Officer Moszer, people want to share that and share their loss, and he will never be forgotten.
Whether they directly knew him or indirectly.
Exactly.
All right. We want to thank you for joining us of our coverage on the funeral for Officer Jason Moszer. Our coverage does not end at this point. We will continue to have coverage. Of course, the funeral procession will last for another 20 miles or so. We'll have coverage for you coming up on Valley News Live at 5, at 5:30, at 6, and then we'll have a recap of the funeral as well on 6:30 POV, and then, of course, we'll also have more coverage for you tonight on Valley News Live 10 at 10.
Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.